check the YouTube feed. I think we're. If you get started, I'll check the sounds. Good.
Good evening, councillors, on this filthy, horrid evening. Thank you for taking the time to come out to our first F&GP meeting of 2026. I've consulted with the executive officer, and there are no speakers or members of the public speaking tonight, as you can see. I'd like to remind everybody that this meeting is conducted in accordance with our standing orders, and obviously participation is welcomed. As far as the fire exit is concerned, the way you came in, down the stairs, out, and our assembly point is by the takeaway Chinese. Standing out in the rain would be good tonight, wouldn't it? Can I please ask all councillors, have you received the documentation, had time to go through it?
Yes.
Thank you very much. And can I please remind everyone attending that the correct etiquette for this meeting is to raise your hands. Thank you very much. Right, first item on the agenda, apologies of absence.
Apologies received from Councillors Brown, Brierley, Watkins, Knott.
Thank you. With the items on tonight's agenda, would anyone like to declare an interest in any of them? No? Thank you very much. Chairman's report, nothing to report at this moment in time. So we'll quickly move on to item 5, the Executive Officer's report.
One update from myself and one from the Assistant Executive Officer. So this follows on from a previous F&GP committee meeting in relation to the transfer of land called land lying west of Reeds Lane, Southwater, aka most of us will know it as the strip east of the Gill, title number WSX 99391. Just to confirm that following that meeting and resolution at the council, that the transfer, as I'm informed, will either have been concluded as of today's date or tomorrow at the latest. The TR1 forms have been signed, and the land in question has been acquired under Section 9 of the Open Spaces Act 1906 in accordance with the council's resolution. Just to extend that, I could do it under the ops report. As it's linked, I'll mention it here. So once it is in our ownership, we have the operations officer has arranged for some maintenance works that need to be carried out to a couple of the trees on that land. But that will be, as and when those works are done, that will be in the next operations report that gets circulated to members. And that's it.
Chair, can I just ask on that point, are we going to advise the residents that back on, the residents that back on to that strip of land that it is now owned by the parish council?
Yes. Letters will be, please make a note, letters to be issued. Yes, they will be issued. There are a few accesses on that route as well, where residents have put gates in their back doors, not back doors, in their back fences. So we just need to let those residents know that, confirm that we are aware of those accesses, but the council will not be making them do any changes. However, typically, for a parish council, if residents do wish to put accesses into land that is owned by, they should contact the council and whichever authority it is. So we'll just advise that, as well as the tree works, as well as confirmation. I think last thing I will just add as well, actually, we will erect some signage to make it clear to residents that it's Southwater Parish Council that owns that, and it's nothing to do with the CIO. And it's also just to highlight that the maintenance, I think of the wording signage, but the public right-of-way is still the responsibility of West Sussex County Council. They're responsible for maintaining it, but they, I mean this respectfully, they do the very least possible. So as per the council meeting, we will do additional maintenance to ensure that that route is kept better than it has been.
I just ask a question when you were talking about the fences or the gates
Yes.
coming through? If they've had like gates along that boundary for over 10 years or 12 years, is it a problem? Is it an issue? Or is it just making people aware?
So, as the council is acquiring the land as of this point, it would not be fair for the council to cause any problems, or so the council should just acknowledge that we're aware of those accesses. Any residents that wish to put access in after the point at which the council, then it needs to write to the council, and then the council consider it accordingly. It might be a yes, it might be a no, it might be a yes subject to an admin fee, or yeah. That's how things should be typically dealt with. Just trying to think if there's anything else to add there. What we'll do is when we send out the letters to the residents, we can send a copy to the this committee, so you're aware of what's been communicated to residents.
As a matter of interest, are there any particular conditions that might apply to gates which have been only recently inserted along there?
No.
No, doesn't make any difference.
It would have been down to the previous landowner or West
Okay.
Sussex County Council to have challenged that.
That's fine. It just as long as we know.
Yeah.
We understand.
Thank you. Moving on to item number. Oh, you've got one more.
Oh,
We had a meeting today with the library team and County Councillor Jupp in regard to the community room grant request that we're putting through. The library team are all in favour with the works that we wish to carry out. There are additional works that they want to carry out in the library as well with those funds. One being the acquisition of the room next door, the office, which is currently occupied by Rose Buildings, as they have terminated their lease. They are looking to extend into that area. So we'll be having some further discussions with them about the works to continue. We have had been told that potentially we have an extension on those Section 106 monies, but we just wait for further confirmation on that.
that's good news. Yeah.
Thank you. Now moving on to item number 6, correspondence.
We've received correspondence which was circulated earlier today to all councillors in relation to the community governance review, and we've also received notice from Horsham District Council of notice of the uncontested election and appointment of Chris Woodrow. This will be dealt with at the next ordinary council meeting in accordance with typical practices. Chris Woodrow has been informed and contacted by the officers. That's it.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 8, accounts. Again, just to note, our aged debtors is in your pack, and is as of the 31st of January of this year. Number 2 on this is bank reconciliation. Nicola Brown has done that in conjunction with the office. So obviously we need to now approve that reconciliation, which again is in your pack. Could I have a proposer, please? Councillor Moore proposed. Councillor Potts seconded. All in favour? All in favour, unanimous. No abstentions. Item number 3, again in your pack, is the balance sheet and earmark reserve, again up until the 31st of January. Can I have someone to propose the approval of this, please? Councillor Vickers has proposed, seconded by Councillor Moore. All those in favour? Unanimous. No abstentions. No against. Item number 4 is the detailed income and expenditure, again up until the 31st of January. Can I have a proposer to approve this, please? Councillor French has proposed it, seconded by Councillor Moore. All those in favour? Unanimous. No abstentions. Moving on to number 9, which is our payment schedule. Again, this needs to be approved, and this is as of the 18th of February. Could I have a proposer, please? Proposed by Councillor Vickers, seconded by Councillor Moore. All those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you very much. Moving now on to item number 10, which is a budget review. So,
So contents of the report, if we take as noted as it was circulated ahead of the meeting, I think that the key aspect that I'd like to just draw attention to in the review report is just the forecast of where we'll be at year end. So as you'll be aware, there was a forecast done as part of the budget setting process when we set the budget. Since then, more information has become available on expected expenditure and costs between now and the end of the financial year. And this currently, based on data at the 9th of February, it will result in a net movement from general reserves of £58,806, adjusted for movements to and from earmarked reserves to cover expenditure exceeding budget provisions. Now, what this means is general reserves at year ended 31st of March 2025 were £266,536. Estimated general reserves at year end will be £207,730. So therefore, at year end, the council's general reserves will be below the minimum level set in the general reserves policy. So the council will need or must budget accordingly in financial year 2027 to 28 to recover the general reserves position given its levels now. In terms of the explanation, or just to expand on that further, the council has been in a good situation, fortunate situation, where there has been a surplus of general reserves over the last 4 or 5 years. So we've been able to use those to offset precept increases. But that surplus has now been fully utilised. And hence that's why in the budget set for 26-27, it reflects an increase. This isn't necessarily related to the budget review for 25-26, but just we have uploaded information on our website to explain the key drivers behind the increase of the new budget for the ensuing financial year, and there will be a flyer that will be circulated to all residents as well to explain those drivers, how the money is spent, and also a little bit of education on council tax as a whole and how it's split between the different authorities. So West Sussex County Council, Horsham District Council, Sussex Police comes out of your council tax, and then the parish or town council, depending on where you live. This is all, unless anyone has any questions.
Horsham District Council setting its budget on Monday.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Any further questions on the budget year to date? Okay. Item number 12, then we move on to our investments and savings using the Flagstone platform. Again, in your pack, has anybody had any questions on that? And then, is there anything you'd like to add?
We have an expiring balance coming up in early March. I'll be doing cash flow forecasting with Senior Accounts Administrator to understand where we'll be year end. But one of the big ticket items or big expenditures we typically have in March is the invoice for the neighbourhood wardens. So we anticipate receiving an invoice circa sort of £98,000 to £100,000. So from a cash flow point of view, we will need to manage, if we've got a maturing balance, we'll need to bring that into the instant access account co-op so we can pay those invoices. I don't necessarily think Horsham would appreciate having to chase us for that. So.
Any questions on the flagstone platform?
Hopefully the report was seeing the date on the first page should read February 2026. Sorry, I just noticed that. So hopefully the report is self-explanatory. If there's any particular areas you would like to discuss, I'm happy to do so. I think the general message councillors should be aware, because there is crossover between this and the planning committee, because section 106s are ultimately planning obligations, as is SIL. But section 106 agreements will still exist, but developer contributions are no longer made via section 106 agreements, they're made via SIL. Whereas before SIL came in, all developer contributions, so if they wanted to build 100 dwellings, they had to provide X amount of money. Those would be secured through section 106s, where they'd be split into the different categories of transport, children's services, recreational, community, fire, rescue, and so on. Now SIL is just paid as a flexible sum. It still has to be used in a particular way, but county, district, and parish councils can spend it how they wish, provided it meets the criteria that it's offsetting the development that's having occurred in the area as a result of that development. So anything that enhances infrastructure. So it can be anything from provision of additional park benches to more, robust, tangible things like community buildings.
Chairman, 106 had expiry or set terms for them. Does that apply to SIL as well?
Yes, so SIL has a 5-year expiry on it. So the point at which it's paid, the 5-year countdown begins. So this report was published to our website, and on the council's website, we actually have a SIL page dedicated to SIL where we show all of the balances. We have to give an annual balance to Horsham, and we document when we spend it, and the balances that we've got and the deadlines on those. So if you scroll to page 6 of the report, or 44 of the councillor's pack, you'll see all SIL receipts to date are broken down by the planning application number, the date received. I'll just point out the date received we've got in here is the date we have received it, not the date it was paid by Horsham. So there's a little bit of disparity, and the 5-year deadline is from the date at which Horsham pay, not the date it makes it to our bank account. But as you'll see, total balance at the moment is £113,909, which is a decent amount of money. To date, the council has spent money on streetlight upgrades. So this was to upgrade to LED and replace some of the old concrete posts to steel. I think whilst this is sort of planning related, I think it's really important for the committee members on this committee, as it is a finance committee, to be aware of the benefits of the neighbourhood plan and it being made. And just to point out the difference between if the council had no plan, the amount of SIL the parish would get for 450 homes would only be £66,000. If, let's say, for example, Berkeley Homes were to build out the 450 homes in the approved neighbourhood plan, the council would get between, depending on the housing mix, so number of 2 beds, 3 beds, 4 beds, and so on, would be anywhere between 847,000 to just over 1 million. So it's a sizable sum. So one of the things that the neighbourhood plan does include is we have an infrastructure delivery plan, and that will need to be looked at and updated to reflect the wants of the community on how that money should be spent. So we will do consultations in the future, but for now the focus is on the review of the neighbourhood plan. But I am conscious that the council does need to undertake a review of community infrastructure levy, infrastructure delivery plan, sorry. But this does not preclude the council from using the SIL in the meantime. It's a guidance document which the council can refer to, but there are some other projects that we've got in our business plan where SIL would be a fitting use. So, any more questions?
Councillor Vickers.
Councillor Moore said what I was going to say, and the executive officers also said what I was going to say. So there was both the time limits on Section 106 and the fact that we get more money by having a neighbourhood plan through SIL than we would without, and it's 15% without a neighbourhood plan, and we get 25% with one. So it's definitely worth having a neighbourhood plan in place. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Cole.
Yeah, I'm just interested in always the comparison between where we would have been and where we are now. And obviously there would have been some 106 money as yet undefined and probably never would divide to compare with that 847,000. But there's going to be a significant gap between the two, i.e. we're much better off as a result. Because everybody seems very mindful of how much the neighbourhood plan has cost and also the principle of going on with it. And I just think that you almost need to find a way of making that comparison. Yeah. Does it make sense? Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you, Councillor Cole. I think it's quite interesting that about keeping on top of this, because time goes by and money's sitting there, and I think there's been countless cases, even locally, not in Southwater, but around us, where people have just forgotten or haven't kept track of it and have lost that. And I think
It'd be really important not to, yeah.
Julie, I think with regards to the library was a good example of it, wasn't it? That they actually missed out on some 106 money.
Just to expand on what my colleague said earlier, we have had communications from the library that they have been able to negotiate an extension on the expired balance of £90,000. However, we've not seen any written confirmation from Berkeley Homes, or we're assured that they have managed to strike a deal, but so take what I say lightly. But based on what they're saying, they've agreed a 2-year extension, and the total available balance, inclusive of the 90,000 that hasn't expired, will be 147,500. So it's a reduction on what the total amount that was previously available, but I think it's a good compromise. Some is better than none. But the Assistant Executive Officer will follow up with the libraries just to actually validate that.
That is good news, because
With the money, does it have to be spent by the time it's expired, or can the project start?
Yeah.
When sort of the money sort of expiring and everything else on those things?
Started.
If the contracts are in place and the work is underway, then that's fine. It can be spent as long as they are in place before the expiry date.
any more questions on SIL and 106? To bus shelters and play areas.
Chairman, I think you switched your...
It's fairly self-explanatory, but does anybody have any questions to put to the Executive Officer? Do you want to add anything?
If there aren't any questions, or there may be some after this, I've just got another update from our operations officer, senior operations officer, in relation to the streetlights upgrades. So, some of you may be aware, the upgrades have been two and a half, maybe 3 years in the making. The last light was finally done, so I think that's highlighted in the report. However, we still have some works orders that were issued around 2 years ago, which have still not been completed by Enervio yet. So those are College Road, Ivy Close lights. So there is currently an issue with UK Power Networks. Enervio are the only ones licensed to do works on the street lights, and they are going through UK Power Networks. They've raised a ticket with them. They're not sure, they are trying to work out what the issue is, something to do with timings and sensors. But in short, Senior Operations Officer has provided her assurances that she's on the matter and she's going to continue to chase, because we've had numerous residents coming in to the office and contacting us by phone with complaints of the lights not working. And it's fair enough. The issues have been more than 2 years, and it's not really an acceptable amount of time for these lights to be out of action, especially with Gardner House there. But unfortunately, it's out of our hands. We're doing everything we can. I know my colleague, I've seen the email chain. There are email chases, a lot of them. Other outstanding streetlight works, where are they? Relate to, I've got the list here. So removal of one at Andrews Lane, I think. Sorry. Yes. So removal of a redundant light has to be carried out. Works order has been issued. That's still yet to be done. There's one for the Oak Road footpath hinge column, which is still outstanding, and disconnection of 2 street lights, redundant ones, in Cripplegate Lane. So a total of 4 street lights left to do.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 15. This is a policy that's been amended, the General Reserves Policy. It's detailed in your pack, and we obviously need to approve this. Did you want to make any comments about the amendment?
Hopefully it's self-explanatory. The main changes are the updates to level of risk. Now had confirmation that the cost of a by-election is around 13,000, not the previously thought amount, which I think we had as 18, and that's because South Water is warded. Looking at proper practices and what's recommended, because we have 2 separate wards, you would want to make a risk provision for each separate ward. Therefore, total possible risk is 26,000 for, that's just one by-election, but in both wards. And because we have an earmarked reserve provision of 10,000, that sets the risk that we need to account for in the General Reserves Policy as 16,000, which takes the overall risk quantified in our policy to 224,000. As you'll see, precept line has just been updated to reflect the newly approved budget, or the approved budget for the ensuing financial year. I think this links, what I would say is this links back to the budget review item, and that if we're projected to be at £207,730 general reserves at year end, that would put the council around 17,000 below its general reserves policy. So again, it highlights that the council must budget accordingly in 27-28 to recover that position.
Councillor Vickers. Oh, sure.
I think no. Hopefully they're self-explanatory. If there are any clarifications, points, or any amendments required, then let me know. But yeah.
Any questions on that policy?
I'm happy to
No.
propose that policy.
Councillor Moore is proposing the policy, seconded by Councillor Potts. All those in favour? All those in favour? Unanimous, no abstentions. Okay, well, thank you. Last item on the agenda is the date of our next meeting, which is the 15th of April.
I should add that the next meeting after that is the third Wednesday in the month in June, which clashes with the England game in the World Cup. So when we come to approve the calendar of meeting dates, it would be my strong recommendation, in view of the sporting event that will be on, for us to hold it at either the Wednesday before or the Wednesday after.
Any objections to that? Thank you. Thank you for clarifying that, Justin. Okay, meeting finishes at 19:33. Have a safe journey.